Hey, let's get started, right? So today I would like to work on some color. Because funny enough, this picture only has one color. And black and white, of course, but it's only one color tone. And so I could maybe start with a couple of things about color theory that are probably more apparent over here. These are black and white, so that won't give us anything to work with. Alright, let's make this a little bigger here. Yes. Let's add actually some color, because what I've been doing before was black and white, and this one is just black and white in one tone. So let's actually talk about color, because there's a lot to talk about. Color makes a painting stand out, right? That is what draws you in as a viewer, that makes it, that instantly pops out at you, that's instantly what captures your attention. Even though a colorless picture can be nice, or a monochromatic picture like I did over here can be nice as well, and I think it's very underrated, to be honest. You can see this a little bit in her, right? It's almost monochromatic. Almost. The skin tone and the hair are slightly offset, like they're slightly different, but it's almost nearly monochromatic. And I feel like you can create a lot of drama in a picture doing something like that. A heavy shadow, a light light, and you can only work with light and shadow and already create a scene and tell a story, as they say. But what if we do want to use color? There's a couple of things to consider. For one, I think one of the most apparent things is that in a usual, you can see it, I think, here a little bit more. For a usual, you know, illustration that is supposed to look somewhat pleasant, because color is really what sets the mood, right? So if you want it to look pleasant and nice and friendly, then what we would do usually is put in warm highlights, cold shadows. So have your highlight in a sort of yellow, orange, peachy tone. Even a warm green could work. If it makes sense in the composition, sure. Usually more of a reddish, yellowish tone, typically. Cold shadows means blue tones, for the most part. Can go into the purple, rarely goes into, well, maybe a cold pink, like this one, even though it is a highlight actually, but typically that's what we find. Warm highlights, cold shadows. I believe this is mostly what we can see, just created by the combination of sun and sky, right? So warm sunlight, very bright in this case, slightly, just a hint of yellow. You can see that even the half shadow here is all very warm tones, but then we see a shadow tone coming out over that area on her shirt. That is blue. Very pretty. Always looks pretty, basically. If you pick a bright yellow and a soft blue for your shadow, you could be done if you wanted to be. No problem. But since everybody does that, right? It's almost It is not boring, it doesn't get boring, but it is kind of predictable. So it gets really interesting if you go different somehow. This is why I pulled up these references on the right here. These are all interesting, I think, from what I see. I look at a lot of art every day, so just maybe that's a bit big-headed of me, but I feel like if I think this is interesting, then it's probably something unusual. Most likely. To me, anyway. As for background and skin tone, so our skin tones are made up of, you know, it's a version of brown. So brown has a lot of colors in it, right? Brown is made up of green and red, so two opposing colors. Green is made up of blue and yellow, which means we have all the primary colors in there. So for each skin tone we need a combination of blue, yellow, and red. And it usually tends to be heavy on the red or yellow tone. Right? Which means that the most contrasting color to a skin tone is usually green, which is why we have green screens in the first place, right? So we can 100% see, or we can easily filter out the green tones, because if we filter out the green tones of the skin, we usually end up with a still natural looking skin tone, on camera anyway. And the camera can easily distinguish between those two tones also. So we can see that almost all of these look fantastic against something green in the background. For her, it's the trees over here. For her, it's this bluish background here. For her, it's like the green details over there. You know? And for her, it's also obviously greenery. That's why classically we like to take portraits in front of plants. It just doesn't complement, but it opposes the skin tone in a way that it brings the figure forward. Makes it pop, makes it stand out from the background. Which means you might have noticed that in this group of portraits, this one seems kind of off, right? And I want to argue it has two reasons. One is that the background and the hair are too close in tone, and there's no highlight. Here we have almost the same issue. It's a very similar picture, but the background is just ever so slightly darker. And we have this highlight over here that sets the figure apart from the background. We don't have that here, and we can see that this is clearly missing as an information to us. So it feels like we're only seeing this light part here, and then it fades away into nothingness. And somehow that bothers the eye just slightly, just a little bit. And also, color-wise, we have the same tone as in the person's skin and hair tone. So it makes her blend into the background rather than make her come forward of the background. Like here we have a better contrast. We can clearly see the shape and outline of her because it is in value and color such a nice contrast to the background. The contrast is also what's bothering me about this picture here. She's also blending into the background weirdly. Or rather, her highlight is actually blending into the background, and we only have the bits of shadow stand out a little bit and give her structure. but it's balanced in the way that we have a dark part over here and over here, so my eye kind of wanders over those two parts, and it kind of works, but it still bothers me. Yes, that is the basics, okay? Warm highlight, cold shadow. Well, what if we don't do that? What if we do things differently? Or what if we look at things in detail? So today I was actually watching artists speak today on this Wacom webinar thing, and they were all manga anime artists, also talking about light and how they put their lights in and how they make that decision. Of course, anime is or manga art is stylized, simplified style. So I always have to keep that in mind when we talk about this, because what I do is usually overly detailed. So we have some differences there. Particularly the difference that manga doesn't attempt to look real, if you know what I mean. It doesn't necessarily attempt to replicate reality, which is what I tend to do to a degree. So I would argue that in manga you have a little bit more freedom, in the sense that you have a little bit more, you can go a bit more nuts with the light. Be like, yeah, that totally makes sense to put like a million highlights in here, because, you know, it's a stylized version of a figure, a character, something like that. So in illustration you find some weird things happening. For example, that there is, you know, simultaneously light from above, which creates this like kind of highlight over here, and the one on the nose and on the cheeks, and this shadow. But at the same time, there also seems to be light coming from just down there, like illuminating that part of the shoulder, or rather the part of the neck, right? Because if you think about this logically, then light coming from above creates quite a deep shadow all over the neck area, because of the chin that you know, goes forward. Interesting patterns of light is what we can see here. So one thing that is super popular right now is probably this one over here. A good old-fashioned rim light that you get if your light source is behind the figure that you are portraying. This one is very, very well done. From a photography aspect, I think, because I'm not good at photography, so whenever I take a picture against the light source, and I mean, now that we're all in Zoom meetings, you probably have a better idea of how this works. If somebody's sitting against a window, the camera picks up the light from the window, adjusts to it, and the figure that the person itself is completely dark, and we see nothing, right? So this photographer here managed to get more of an image that I would see in reality, right? I would, like, my eye would adjust to it in a way that I can see her perfectly, but then still have this sort of highlight around her. So here you see the classic rim light where the little hairs are catching the light. That is something a lot of people like to use these days in illustration as well. And it looks usually like that, kind of, right? This is like an extreme version of what I said about light and warm highlight and dark shadow. Even though I have to be aware that most photography, if we draw from photos, you have to be aware that most photography is using at least two light sources. You can see that when I take your passport picture, and there's usually like a million lights around you. So what is usually done, and this is really just something that I figured out while looking up how to, you know, make your webcam look expensive or things like that, you know what I mean? Or how do streamers light their, you know, pictures, their face cam and stuff like that. And by looking that up, I accidentally found out how photographers light their subjects. And then just like went from there and took this over to art and thought, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to know that. Because then I can understand the picture better and I can understand better why there is this deep shadow over here, this light area over there, but very clearly I have a light source back here. Because there's several light sources. That's the reason. So there's usually one soft light on one side. This is how you achieve that look, right? So not with the light that I have. That's a very, very strong one. If I were to put a white sheet over it, right, and it would diffuse the light and it would create an even softer light than it already does. Even though this one is not bad. It's a ring light, so makes things look quite smooth. It's not bad. Other than maybe like a spotlight or, you know, a smaller light. This one is larger than my head, so it would go around my head. So it creates quite a diffuse light already by itself, but it could be more diffuse if I put an umbrella or something, or shadow box or whatnot. What do they call those? Diffusers? Over it? This is what has been done over here. In a blue tone, I think. And then a strong, well, not so strong, but like a smaller light over there. Actually, I've kind of, let me see, maybe we can replicate that. Hold on, how can we do that? Go onto this thing. Let me have a look. So I have, on this side, I have this strong light that's coming from there. And I actually have a little... Ah, there we go. Do you see that? I have a little desk lamp that throws a yellow light. It's also in front of me, so if I put it behind me, maybe I can sort of recreate this picture. Let me see. If I just hold it there, can you see that? So I have this soft light coming from that big lamp over there, and then I create this rim light by just having my little desk lamp, there it is, coming from behind me. That is this look. So yeah, today I definitely want to get this classic trend basically done as well. But this one is interesting because it is not orange and blue. That's what I wanted to talk about. Because it's actually a green blue and a red. Has like a reddish highlight over here, which is a fantastic contrast as well. And I would argue that this is more of a futuristic look now, because in so many pictures or instances when we talk about like cyberpunk futuristic things and whatnot, we always get this blue light from the screen. So the blue light, or even green light, right, from the computer screen, or even if you buy products that are supposedly trying to be futuristic, even the camera that I'm using right now is giving me blue lights. Blue lights, or neon blue, is kind of our color symbol of futuristicness. That's how we communicate that this is a setting that is happening in the future, a blue light, because it is something we definitely didn't find 100 years ago. There was no, not that I know, any blue light other than maybe moonlight, which there is not a lot of paintings of. So, blue light or even green light says future to me. So this setting instantly creates something that could be a scene from some sort of futuristic dystopian movie. Right? Just for that reason, really. Almost the same with here. If that light was any different color, I would believe it for her as well. And I think that neon plays a pretty strong role in that as well. So if I see neon lights, I also get a feel for either this futuristic cyberpunky thing or some sort of scene of Japan, because they actually have a lot of neon lights over there, or the 90s. Was it the 90s where it was so popular, or was it the 80s? Something like that. Some sort of club feel. Alright. I think I talked about her. There's like barely any color going on, but yeah. So I find this one very interesting because it also plays with shapes. The highlight is actually not on her, but like projecting from her, which I think is very strange, but very interesting at the same time. And there is this colored shadow in the wrong value, I think. Or is it? No, I think it is not actually. So it's a colored shadow that makes this look somewhat like an old photograph or something. Yes, okay. This is all a theory I wanted to talk about. So let's see what we can do today. Like with her, it would definitely, like, they almost look alike, you know what I mean? So maybe we can just explore this picture a little bit more and work on that in a way, to make her look a little bit more like that. So I could, of course, go in, open this in this program, and then go with the color picker and pick the color that way. Could do that, but I kind of don't want to right now. Instead, I have grouped them, all the layers together, and I think if I set the hue and saturation as a clipping mask over that group, I can manipulate the entire color of the picture. Yes, I can. And I would like to push her towards the blue tone that I see there, which is a little greenish. From the saturation, maybe a little bit more in that direction, and is quite dark too, which is fine because I'm going to paint over this in a moment. Maybe a little bit more blue. Like that. Okay, cool. And I really just want to play around with this a little bit and explore what I can do, see how all these things work together. And to create something that is just almost like a glaze, just lying above or over, kind of like a glaze over the image that I've already created. I could use and work with the multiply layer, but it's always a bit of an experiment for me because I'm not 100% sure what the logic of that feature is. I'd have to look it up, but I didn't so far. So I can't predict 100% what. Oh, I just hit it right there, didn't I? I just hit the tone. Just on the first try. Okay, well, you know what? I'm not going to complain about that. So I want to put a glaze over it and just, you know, see how that works. It's like a transparent layer and just lays over that. Then I can tell that this green is repeated over there, so maybe I want to do that too. Let's see, how do we approach that? I think I want to go with a soft one. You see? Ah, it's pretty much hitting the spot, doesn't it? That's might be a little too much. Could you go... What happens if we go a little lighter? Yes. But I feel like... Let's see, if we go full bright... Yeah, I think so. Kinda wanna go over all of these areas that are lit in that direction. Don't wanna go too crazy with that though. I could find the color in all sorts of places, including... not including her hair. Well, these little accents over there, they are a little green, so we'll bring this into her hair also. And very, very carefully across her face. That's already too much, I feel. Just on the edge of that highlight. Probably, most definitely going to brighten her up too. Okay, I want to experiment a little bit with another color. Going a little bit more into the blue tone. See how I like that. Yeah, that's doing it for me, I think. Okay. So if that is a green light coming from... So she's like this, so coming from here. Then I would also need to add these tones. Make this work with that. So basically all the highlights that I put in, because for that other tone, for this one here, I have to create new highlights. I haven't accounted for that in the other layer. But since I want to go so much brighter, I'm not 100% sure that Multiply is going to do this for me. Let me try Overlay. Actually, let me try Overlay. Let me see how far I can push that. I go over here. Yeah, that's what I thought. So it's not going to allow me to get any more light in here. But what I can do though, let me see, if I just draw one line, I can check the different modes, see what they do. For instance, if I go for lighten, that'd be quite interesting. Color dodge, that looks pretty interesting. You know what? Let's go for it. Let's do that. Because that looks pretty good to me. So of course I haven't created a clipping mask, so I have to be a little bit mindful of them. But I could also see that this was very strong, so let's tone this all the way down. Try that again. Carefully this time. Ooh. See how it brings that out? Carefully, gradually. Lovely, that's exactly what I wanted. Just there. Awesome. Oh, the wonders of technology, am I right? Okay, yes, I wanted to... I'm currently working with a soft light, but I definitely want to get some harder edges in there as well. Okay, let's see if it allows me to work like that on the skin as well. It does. But I feel like I want to see if we can go a different color that would work out. Let's go full orange. What does it do? Ah, yes, I see. Alright. I think there's more red in there, so let's go more red. Kinda like it. A little bit more yellow. Let's see what we can do. Still being very careful applying that stuff. No, I think it's too red now. I liked it better with a bit rather orangey. Yeah, okay. So I've decided what I want to go for. An orangey tone. I'll go a little bit stronger this time. So the highlight is not just a line, right? As light does, it always has some sort of an aura. So I definitely want to go in softer first. Not going to worry too much about the overhang here. Coloring over things. I wanted to go across the cheek too. And drag that, I think, along the back here. It's pretty cool. And then I go a little bit softer and more careful with that again. I get 10%, that's not much. I kind of want to bring this in across that area of the face that I determined as shadow areas. Not all of them, I don't want to lose all of my shadow here. Just want to bring this in where I think the light would fall in a little bit more. Kind of like there. Ah, it's already too much. Hold on. I think that was already too far. I think I'm just gonna go grab myself some of that shoulder. Just a little bit. I want to soften that up. So let me go in with a soft eraser. Not at full opacity. So tone this down just a little bit. Because I'm going to put a highlight on top of it still. Just want this to be some sort of a glow. Yeah, that's cool. And I think I want to bring some of this into the hair over there. Yeah, that's cool. I almost almost overdoing it now. Take this down. Hmm? Ooh, and I'm seeing there's a great opportunity there to mix that into her eyebrow. Oh yeah, that's nice. Just onto the eyelid over there. A little bit too much already. Trying to be careful not to overuse that. I think that's pretty cool. I set this one to multiply. I want to try something because I want parts of this to be more orangey without making them necessarily lighter. Okay, but that's not the right tone. It's not going to create quite the right tone for me. Let's try pink, maybe. What'd that do to me? For me. Like that. Very subtle. It's not the direction that I want. See over here. Still very, very subtle. Okay, but I'm getting a sense of a warmer tone here. It's what I wanted to create. Ah, maybe I should go a little bit heavier on that brush. Ah, yes. Now we get somewhere. Okay. I'm gonna dare to make this more pink. Warm up just half of her face. Just a little bit of that shadow area. So I'm actually doing exactly the opposite of what I said before. I'm creating warm shadows. Partially. Cool highlights. I think there's more of a pink tone in there. That's too much. Let's see. That. Doesn't quite show up, but kind of. I wonder if I can, by using this, if I can push my highlights way brighter. Yes, I can. How bright do I want it? Yeah, like there. I can, look at that. Nice. It's pretty good. I kind of want this to be darker again. Take out my mark. That's pretty cool. See if we can work with an intense red. Yes, we can if we want to. Can always soften that up again. That's fine. So the more intense I am, the more it shows up. But it also makes it darker, so I don't want that. I just want to warm this up ever so slightly. Oops. No, I don't want that. Don't want it that color. Bring some more red into the hair. Alright, I like that. Now, from here, I'd like to have some... No, actually I'm not going to modify this one. I'd like to have some visible strokes. Just to give it that bit of texture. Just in a few places. Alright. And over here. And maybe I'm gonna put a cheeky little bit into the eye to bring that to life. Oh yeah, that was a good decision. Maybe some of it just along the mouth. Just a little bit. Bring this over to her hand. Okay. Still have this soft eraser that's really coming in handy right now. Ooh, and what if now this is still a color dodge layer? Ooh, that's a lot. So what if now I went in and made this a high highlight? Ooh, that's the ticket. Okay, this is gonna be good. Might go with this one, so I can modify the size. Ooh, no. Too strong. Need a little opacity there. It's still quite strong. Let me tone this down just a notch. Ah, yes. Still quite the strong line though. Ooh, yes. Look at the impact of it all. Beautiful. Even get a little bit over there. Let's play with it. Quietly. There. Okay, right, so we've kind of explored this, but in a different color. That one is a warm one of the pink backlight, but we did it this way. Red and green. I'm intrigued by this thing here, but I think today we'll go for a classic, and we're going to use you. Yes, that is the person that I was looking for. I'm going to put a color behind her. I think I'm going to go for the original green that was her background. Oh, excuse me. There you are. The original green that is her background, because I do enjoy that green. That is very nice. Also, Lucifer, how the hell are you doing? How's hell? Keeping everyone in check. Warm. Yeah, I guess that's the most positive thing you can say about hell. I go nice and dark with that background, and then build up on that. So because my sketch layer is like kind of in the middle of everything, so I'm a little bit limited here. I want to have a good layer management, but I can't because reasons. There we are. That is my sketch, and this is the layer. Okay, so now working with color, I just want to block in a little bit of that background, just very roughly, with a big old brush. There it is. Because I'm seeing that there is these greens that have a little bit of a yellow tone to them, just like that or something. Excuse me. There we are. Oh, that's very strong. Let me go a little softer with that. Something like that. Yes. And from here, maybe this tone, but a little lighter. Like that. Okay, and then darker again over here. Just very, very roughly. Just to give this a little bit of structure already. So behind the figure I can see a bit of dark going on, which is going to be fantastic for some contrast. And then it fades into this beautiful blue. And yes, I will use that also. To here and here. So yeah, just a vague idea of how that is. Yeah. Let me see. To make this a little easier for me, because I already have that. And I'm going to work with that. You like this? That's good. So if I wanted to grab her tone, her skin tone, I think we should be there. Let's see. No, I'm going for this one. That's gonna give me the range that I want. Okay, so now that I have... I mean, I did this before. That would usually take me forever to get this shape properly and cleanly. But I already did that the other day, so... You don't even see that? What do you mean? You don't see that this is her skin tone? Hold on, let me show you. See it now? Could be a little closer to it. You see it? You see now? Does it make sense? Could even go a little bit more in that direction there. There you go. Yeah, see, you just have to zoom all the way in, remove everything else, and then you can kind of tell where you are, how good you did that. I think, now that I see this, maybe I can go a little bit more in. A little bit more here, a little bit more there. Even a tiny dash more red. There we are. Made teeny tiny changes. See, that's the tone I was looking at when picking that color, so... I know that there's a million other tones in there, like the face, for example. I don't know if that's makeup or whatever, but it is lighter than everything else. And all of these kinds of... No? Right? Don't really need to worry about it. It does essentially this over here. So what's happening in this picture is that everything is quite warm. We don't have the cool shadows in here as much. Going to pick the ones that we see over here though, because I really enjoy that little slight dash of blue in here. That's very nice. And another trick we're going to see is those highlights here are slightly blue. I don't know if you can see that. But this area over here is relatively cold, and this is pretty warm. Can you tell? It's like there's a veil of blue over this, and this one is just warm. Can you see the difference? This is what I can tell here. This is actually the sky reflecting onto her skin there. That's the blue notes from that. Yeah, right? Like, I know it's there because, theory, but I think you can actually tell, you can actually see. One thing I want to do is break up the areas of her, I'm derping out. The tiredness is setting in. I'm like, what? It's great. So much fun. Let's go in. So I want to have her shirt extra, or cut out, if you will. And her head. Where am I looking? There am I looking. I always have to remind myself, I actually just want to demonstrate a couple of things that you can do color-wise. I don't actually want to go all the way into detail or work out the picture perfectly. I don't think I can do this in a decent amount of time for people to watch it. So what I just did was completely nonsensical, in case you didn't notice. Because I selected everything except for the part that I wanted to select. Just so you know. So good job, Anne. Good job. Very good. Congratulations. You did it. Unbelievable. Alright, her shirt color. It comes in so many colors, I'm having a hard time picking one. I'm gonna go with the neutral. It's quite bright. Not fully bright. Go with a muted tone. The one over here. Actually, that's what I'm looking for. See, if I zoom in, I make this easier for myself. And the hat. Yes. That was the idea. Let's sort out that as well. Get this on a different layer as well. Actually, don't quite care about that bit of hair there. That's gonna go on the layer on top of that, I think. Yes. For the head, I should like to pick something around there, I think. That is roughly the tone that I want. Obviously it's going to change because there's going to be more blue here, more light there. Actually, let me pick some of those tones. I think that's better. Ooh, that one. Yeah, that's better. Great. Oh, I put it on the same layer as the other thing. Yeah, that's great. Seriously, what is up? Can we not? Okay, thanks. I'm gonna do hair as well. So let's go in. If I derp out too much, I might actually have to figure something out. I don't even know. All of this does take a little bit of focus. Actually, I'm just going to pick this strand of hair, this bulk bit of hair, because the other things I do want to have some sort of brush stroke with that. Hey, excuse me. Darker. I want to have brush strokes drawing those. I would like that. Okay, so let's mainly focus actually on the face, because I think It is, after all, the place where the most things are happening. So color-wise, I might even ignore the fact that she has some sort of eyeshadow going on. Just for the moment. Just so I can put down some interesting places, some interesting things here. And for this, I choose one of the ugliest brushes we have, which is a airbrush. Because it gives me the softest edge. Actually going for the one that gives me some variation in opacity as well. Go quite light because it's quite opaque. Gonna go in with that tone, just within the same color, just a different tone, and just pick out a couple of things that are light. Actually will make her face weirdly light. That's how she comes, right? So... ah, that's too much. Like this. Okay. Let me see if there's anything in the arms that I need to be aware of. Not yet. Okay. This is just to work out her general skin tone. So to keep it consistent for now, I stay within the same tone. Just put some variations of, within the same color, put some variations of tone in here. Just where I think... let me get the pressure size one. Let me turn this down. Let's get some shapes going. Still soft shapes, but do want a little bit of shape in here. Okay. Why does the one on the right not have blue tones on the light side? It's really, really white. She does. Hold on. Just want to make that stroke over here. She does, actually. Let's look at her closely. This here is lit up by the sunlight directly, right? The same as with her hair over here. So there's going to be the parts that are white sunlight, or in this case yellowish, because the sun is a little lower in the atmosphere, and the curvature creates a yellowish tone. Here we have pretty bright daylight, so this is very nearly white. We zoom all the way in, we can see there is just the slightest little hint of yellow in here. But the reflection from the sky, right, the sky around the sun, not, you know, we see here, not in the brightest highlight, but in the soft highlight. Here as well as in the soft parts. The bright highlight is in the back and down here. But in the soft lights, that's the reflections from the sky. Does that explain it? Okay, I'm going darker here because the hat is making a shadow. Still staying very soft. Because I don't really want this to pop out too much. Building this up. I have a shadow over there. I feel like dash of shadow there. And then over here, now I'm varying the tone again a little bit into the less saturated direction. I don't have to, because I have the sponge tool, so if I were to decide that, for instance, this one is too saturated for my taste, I could go in with the sponge tool and take down that saturation, and it changes the tone a little bit. So I could do this in 2 steps if I wanted to. But I feel like I can manage so far. But I'll keep that in mind if I change my mind later. So by already going in with the tool that is less saturated, already seems blue against the yellowish tone that I chose to work with at first. You know. It's interesting. Over here, I can see that there's a very interesting little detail. It's like a very orangey sort of reflection or a shadow. I don't quite know what it is. It's very lovely. I like it. So now I want to put in a couple of strokes. That define the face or the shadow areas a little bit more. I want to be careful with my color though. I've set the opacity quite low, so it's not going to overpower the image. And I can still get a gradual build up. I'm gonna place that quite decisively in areas where I would benefit from a harsher line, like over here. Maybe even along the nose. Not all the way though, just till here. Can always go in and blend that if I want to. A decisive shadow under here. And it looks actually pretty good if you make the shadow that the nose throws a little bit more harsh, but I actually want it to be soft with her because she's such a delicate person. Oh yeah, I keep saying that again and again. I can work on this forever to get it just right. Every little stroke is making a teeny tiny difference. And yeah, I could work on this all day long. Probably several days if I really wanted to. Hey Blue, nice to see you. How did your interview go? Did you get a response yet? Around 10 PM my time. It's already 11. You don't know if you butchered it? I'm sure you were fine. I'm sure you were just fine. I don't think you butchered that. I find that hard to believe. Yes. I did get some things done, so I didn't do too badly, but I was very, very tired all day, so it wasn't... overall wasn't the most successful day, productivity-wise. I tried, and that's what counts. Yeah, me too. I also have no energy these days. I don't know what that is. I don't know what it is, but just kind of, yeah, knocks me out of my gear. I don't know. You're digging the shading? Yeah, I just started. I feel like I just started. I think I've been talking so much that it's been a while now. Okay, let's turn this down. I'm thinking that I'm going to this layer over here to work a little bit on the eye. Just a dash. Picking a color around there. Drink more water. Look! That's all the water I drank in the last... How long have you been on? 2 hours. It's a good half liter. It's not that little. Plus, you know, I do drink water over the day. No, I'm not sure. I don't think it's the water though. I'm kind of wondering if I have some sort of vitamin stuff or coffee. Yeah, well, I had also a lot of coffee, right? You just have a column of layers stacked on top of each other. Yeah, well. You gotta go for now? No problem. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for saying hi. Always lovely, always nice to see you. And yeah, I'll text you, let you know if we can play something later. Might not be able to today because I'm already tired as hell. But you know what? That mood might change in the next half hour. I don't know. yeah, I'm just like roughly blocking in some things about the eye. Of course, I could make the eye a little bit better and more striking, and the highlights are still missing at this point. But all I want to do is really just bring the point across of the shading and color choices that I'm making. That was a bit long there. And just for show, let's add this hair in there. Did I put the... I put the hat over it. That's okay. So I've put the hair on an extra layer above because I can do this. I feel like it's an essential part of the image. This strand of hair here, I want to feature that. But definitely work on the layer underneath without touching this hair strand. And that's a bit messy now. Oh well. Whoa. What was that? Same with this part. And since this light is such a big part of this as well, I kind of want to put this in quite early. So I've already done this on a previous layer. So okay. Some reflection underneath the chin. And then go all the way down there. And then go in for a refined edge just there. And there. Okay. But I'm getting lost in details already, so Let me get to the point. And that is this whole sky color highlight thing that I wanted to show you. Go in with a bigger brush. You see how that sprung to life just with that? Look at that. Let me do that again. Just without even, you know, having everything well done or anything. This just made it happen. A little bit there. Wouldn't even do much more of it. Maybe just a dash around the nose. Can zoom in again to see that closer, because there's like tip of the nose, there's like another. Ooh, it's already too strong. Another poop. Still too strong. Tone this down. Just a little. Pop. Around the chin too. There we have it. So even without being completely done or anything, you can already see this coming together, which is insane. Just by using only this one color tone there, and you know, it's a little bit of sky reflected. A little bit on here. And even in the highlight in her eye, you can see that it's actually blue. On the right layer? Nah, I'm not. Because that stupid layer. There. Right. And we'll just go over that. Oh, actually, I don't want this to be a clipping mask. So I'm gonna draw across there something much more blue. Less green. Yes, like that. Right? And then go in and add another little bit of bright in there. Want that. Even go in now with that sort of a brush. Get that highlight going. There's one. There's one. And it's already living. You know what I mean? With a simple use of a little bit of color. Haven't even done anything to the background. Almost. You zoom out, you can already tell where this is going. Even though I have not really worked on the clothing or anything like that. Let me make just one experiment here. So if I turn my lines off, right? So I'm losing some info, of course. But you can already see how this is going to come together. It's gonna be a couple more adjustments in terms of color and everything. It's going to have to lose a little bit of yellow, and I have to introduce some more pinks. But that is it. That is the point I wanted to make. But I also wanted to have a look at the cold shadows that I was talking about. So just into this layer that I created around the shirt, because that's only where they appear apparently. They are actually a quite different color, something like here, relatively bright even. Is it something like so, right? You can probably do some fantastic things with that. It goes across here. Actually, it has quite a hard edge, so I can be a little bit more daring. Just block it in. Because it goes all the way around. Like so. Could even go stronger with that over there. Because I can always go in with my eraser, which is on a soft setting, yes. And then free up a couple of things that I feel don't quite follow this shadow area there. Like that, just 2 lines, right? That's all. And I want to draw just 1 more line. A bit bigger. Just here. Come on. Brush tool. A little bigger. Because from here I can then again go in, take out the areas that I don't like. Let me take another minute to apply that color across the head. Yes, just like that. And we're almost there already. I might as well take the moment, pick myself a warmish pink. Maybe I'll go more of a peach. I do want to have a little dash of pink in there. Something like that. Go for a rather soft one. Grab that over here, drag it in here into the face. See, and we're like pretty close to her already. We are pretty close to her. The only thing that is still left is some of that peachy tone along the eye, the makeup, that kind of sticks out in that picture, so... Well, that's too bright. Go a little darker. Oh no, it'll go a little darker even. Something like that. Look at that. Nearly got her. The rest is detail. Pretty much. And that's all the magic. That is it. That is what I wanted to talk about. So, in summary, whoops. The most popular thing to do is the warm highlight and the blue shadow. And as we can see in this little image over here, is that it's very effective. And it almost always looks fantastic. So it is a safe bet and a good method, a good go-to. Can only recommend it. If we do want to go a little bit differently, especially since we're talking about portraiture, the only other option we really have, other than monochromatic options, is typically our red and green. It's always going to look a little odd though. Maybe futuristic, maybe cyberpunky or something like that. The original image also has a sort of, well, it's more like blue, but the idea is similar. Blue, the blue-orange, obviously, but here we have the red-green contrast. Also, that is, like, in summary, the options that we have when working on realistic portraits. Then we have fine details that we can notice, such as cool reflections from the light that create slightly light areas that come from the sky. We have we also know that yellowish light, especially in like close to sunset, the golden hour, makes skin look fantastic. So if we go a little bit more yellow with the skin, we are doing the person a favor usually, and we can definitely use that in portraiture as well. If we highlight the red undertones of the skin too much, the person looks sick and the skin doesn't look clear. We just have to keep that in mind. We can use that to create some sort of a mood, but if you want to flatter a person, you want to bring out the yellow tones and warm up the skin tone. A cool skin tone can look sickish as well, cold and kind of lifeless even. So if you wanted to draw like a zombie or a dead person, a corpse or whatever, even a vampire, that might be a go-to to go colder with your palette like that. But otherwise, if you want to just capture a person, make them look good, warm is the go-to. And we have explored or talked about the portraiture and illustration trends that are showing us two light sources. A little bit different from classic portraits that we see in a portrait gallery, for example. So we see a soft light source on one side, and from behind a different second light source, here in a different color, so here we can see that very clearly, to create this rim light that is very popular right now. It's very pretty. So if you do go for a rim light, be aware, don't overdo it. The stronger your lines, the more edge you have, the more it'll look cartoony. If that's where you want to go, that's where you go. If you go for a softer approach, like I was starting over here, you get a more realistic, refined look. Unless you go for something like manga art or something, it's still a flat surface and it has soft shadows and stuff like that, without being too realistic looking. So it is very much a style choice. But yeah, all of that to say, cool shadows and warm highlights is how you flatter a portrait. this shall conclude the end of color. And tomorrow we are going to talk a little bit more about originality, original characters, character design. How do I take something like this reference photo and turn it into something completely different? What's the process of the ideas? What's the approach to that? And all of this kind of stuff. So we're going to look at tomorrow. And what it takes if you want to create your own character and you want to make some sort of a character sheet. We're going to talk the next day about some sort of portfolio stuff. So we have to talk about gesture as well, pose, action, different angles, and all that. So still more to come.